Okay, I'm getting to the end of the middle draft stage, and I got a little bit done. So let me show you what I got done. And again, I set the context, and that's what I did here, and got the quotation over. That doesn't change. I just copy and paste. This I revised a bit. Now, I revised it and developed it. I did not basically wreck what I had before. It's still very similar. And if you want to see the first draft, let's look at the first draft. And you'll see the difference. It starts to mount. Verba describes how people were being transported from all over Europe to Auschwitz. And that's the first draft. This is the middle draft. Jews were being transported from all over Europe to Auschwitz and were being murdered by the thousands. But the next transport always arrived not knowing what was going to be their fate. Notice I've just developed that, and we're disappearing. I developed it more and refined it a bit. And that's what I did. This is the first draft, and here is the middle draft. It's just about not quite twice as long. It's a little bit better. This level of ignorance was constant, as repeated transports of Jews arrived and were gassed within a short period. Verba understands that nearly all of the people were going to be murdered, but he did nothing for them because he could not. Verba understood. It should be understand, or no, understood, because that's historical. But he did nothing for them because he could do nothing for them. Notice I've developed that further than here. Here's the first draft. This level of ignorance was constant as repeated transports of Jews arrived and were gassed within a short period. So I've developed it and made it a lot longer and a little more detailed. So it's better. And so notice that it stays essentially kind of the same, but it's just better now. And take a look at the analysis. The gassing of so many people was kept secret. This is the first draft, which made it possible to unload these people since they were not thinking they were about to die. Verba is clear that he knew that these people were going to be murdered, but he did nothing to resist, which shows the level of fear that was used to ensure the compliance of the Jewish workers. So I made it into an analysis of Verba's in action to a degree. Let's see what I ended up with. This is the refined analysis. It's a little bit better. But notice this is not the final draft stage. The gassing of so many people was kept as well as understood fate. It was kept as a well understood fate. And I don't like that right now. I'm going to get that in the next draft. But it's kept as a well understood fate. Let's do that right now. For all the people off the train, but also kept secret from the victims, which made it possible to unload these people since they were not thinking they were about to die. I still don't like that sentence, but you know what? It's better than what I had before. Verba is clear that he knew that these people, and I'm going to do this. Verba knew that these people were going to be murdered, but he did nothing to resist, which shows the level of fear that was used to ensure compliance of the Jewish workers. The fear had separated him from his own people. That's something new. That's something I observed. I said, the first thing he'd want to do is to help these people, but he can't. He's got to keep distance from them. So he's been separated from them by the fear that's instilled in him. That is new to this, along with other things, along with my development of it, to this middle draft. And I did that throughout. I did it in the next body paragraph. I set the context. And I don't think I did it too well, but I did it. I just got it done for now. I'll get it better in the final draft, okay? And there I have the quotation. And it's always easier if you keep the page numbers, guys. It's always easier if you get them early on. And I just developed the description a little bit, and I developed the analysis a little bit, just a little bit more. And this one I developed a good deal. This is the third body paragraph. I put the context there. I stuck with the same quote, even though it's a bit short, because it worked. It worked perfectly fine. Notice that this is the third body paragraph. is much more developed than it was before. I'm in the first version now, and this is my description in the first version. And this is now my description in the, in this middle version. It's almost twice as long, okay? And if you do that throughout the essay, you've really lengthened it. And notice that the analysis is really refined. Verba notes the haste of the process of getting people off the trains, but his description of the weapons used does not include guns. The Jews who were about to be executed were not threatened with immediate death, since this probably would have induced panic and made the situation far more difficult. So I kept that basic idea, but I developed it more. Verba notes the frequent haste of the process of getting people off the trains, but his description of the weapons used to move the people faster does not include guns. Notice how similar it is. The Jews who were about to be executed were not threatened with immediate death, since this probably would have caused some to panic and would have made the situation more difficult. The methods used throughout show that the Germans used the cooperation and compliance of the Jews without triggering panic or resistance from them. That is the analysis that I'd refined in the middle draft stage. And I would not have gotten that unless I had written the earlier draft and given it some time. And then this was the final body paragraph, where I really developed it a good deal more. This is when the Germans were mocking the Jews getting off the trains. Okay, and I still think I can do it better. They are mocking the Jews but using courtesy to ensure that the procedure still goes smoothly. So I'm going to add something about how they are treating them in an entirely inhumane manner, but I'm going to do that in the final version, okay? I still need to make this one better and make it better, but I'll do that in the final version. I can't take care of everything at the same time. And remember that point I'd made about your working memory can only handle so much? Can't solve every problem. I'll get to those later, okay? So this was my first attempt at the first part of the introduction, and I haven't done my thesis yet, okay? So this is what I'm doing. Your introduction is supposed to summarize the scenes and main points you work with in the body paragraphs. It should take about 2 sentences for each body paragraph. And that's a rule of thumb. That's not required by law or anything like that. But I did basically that for the first 3 body paragraphs, and I kept it separate. You can write them all together. This is just 2 sentences on the first body paragraph. That's what that is. This is 2 more sentences on the next 2 body paragraphs. That's what that is. And here's 2 more sentences on the 3rd body paragraph. Okay? Now I can write 2 more sentences on the 4th. That's the one where the guards were mocking him. Courtesy as if they were only there to help the Jews after their long journey. That's what the 4th is about. But this courtesy was a mockery of the Jews who were about to die. This sarcasm how the Jews were being treated with no regard, not only for their lives, but also for their basic humanity. So mocking them as they're about to be put to death, putting them to death, just absolute no regard for their lives. Mocking them on the way there, that's no regard for their humanity. That's what they're doing. So that's something I just came up with now, and I like this introduction better. It's still rough. I can only solve so many problems. And the thesis should put the ideas together. So they remained ignorant. Now, this is a rough thesis statement. Verba's description of the train arrivals at Auschwitz shows how the Jews knew nothing of their pending deaths, but the German guards ensured they remained ignorant by instilling fear in the workers and using the Jews as a source of mockery. So that's where I'm going to leave it right now. Now I have a lot more. I've got to put the rest of this introduction together. And I'm going to rewrite that thesis. I'm going to make it better. I think that one's pretty rough. But I'm going to rewrite it. But notice that you write the introduction after you've rewritten the body paragraphs. Now you have a strong notion of where you're going with this essay. That's when you write the roadmap. The roadmap is your introduction. And that's what I've done right here. And you get your thesis after you've done all that work. And you've come up with something original. And so I'm going to get something about how Verba was forced to not do anything for other Jews and was separated from them by fear. But that the Germans, and I'm going to have to put something about the Germans being separated from the Jews by the inhumanity. In other words, the anti-Semitism had caused them to so dehumanize these Jews, to not only murder them, but to mock them on their way to death. So I'm going to do something with that idea, the separation. The Jews were separated from each other, and the Germans were separated from the Jews. The fear and the anti-Semitism are going to be blended into this thesis. That's what I think it's going to be. One thing I want you to really note is I didn't come up with that thesis until now. I came up with the thesis as I'm just about to move to the final draft stage. Now I know what I found. I know what I discovered. That the Jews were separated from each other and the Germans separated from the Jews by their anti-Semitism. They had dehumanized them. I'm going to do something with that. So I'm going to leave it with that. That's going to be the middle draft stage. I've got it kind of in good shape. And I'll come back and I'll move this over to a final draft stage because this is going to be all put together as my introduction. And these are going to be all my elements in my body paragraphs. I'm going to put these together. And now you should be able to see what kind of essay you're going to have after you finish the middle draft stage. It's not put together. It doesn't look good. But you got this stuff there. And so we'll put it together in the next video. All right. Take care, you guys.